So, welcome back, and here we are on Enshrouded, and we focus mostly on the indoors. We've done a lot of rooms on the inside of the place, workrooms, armories, and we have a whole bunch more to do. But today, we are going to be focused on the greenhouse. Now, while we do have glass in the game, we do not necessarily have panes of glass to create what you would call a traditional greenhouse. However, this little area behind me is going to be our seed barn. So we have plenty of fields outside to sow all the seeds in, but this is where we're going to raise all the seeds. Right, so what I've started by doing is actually fixing up the floor, but I'm now going to fix up the rest of this area here, and I'm going to do it with you here. So I tidied it up a little bit because obviously this is broken down. There's a lot of things that are, but I've tidied it up a little bit and removed some of the items from inside here to save on time. So, here we go, shroud wood, which is what it's made out of. Okay. And let's just fix this place up. Not happy with that corner there. And there. Can see a little bit of light there, but I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. No, I can see we've moved a little bit there. Mind. Okay. Let's move this up here. Push it too far back there. Seal this area up and also do the same at the back here. Now, I'm going to be creating a large window at the back here anyway, so we don't have to be too particular with this. But I would definitely... Now, obviously, you could shift that back a little bit more, I think, actually, and create yourself just a little bit more room if you wanted to. You know, in some ways it might be good to have as much room as possible. So let's just... Come on. Come on, go on in. You know you want to. There we go. And... Now I'm going to make this into a window area, so we're going to place you just there, I think. Back a bit. There. Just check that. Bring you down maybe just a smidge there. Have I have. Actually, no, that's just a... yeah, then my eyesight may be bad. I can see I screwed that one up. Is that okay? No, I've still put that back. That is still back further than it needs to be. Okay, got that. Okay, so there we go. We've kind of enclosed this place. I'm actually going to enclose over the top there as well, I think. So I would like to put some more decoration around here. So I'm going to use that beam. Place there. And bring you back. And there. Right, so let's make our space. I am going to... 3. I'm thinking a nice little window up there. And just here, we filled this in. Actually... to... See if I actually got those window measurements correct this time. Snapping on, please. There we go. And for the second one, almost. Again, I'm going to go for as much natural light as possible. Obviously, you know, you do it the way you want it, with as many or as little windows as you wish. It depends how much effort you want to put in there, you know. Personally, you may not want to put this much into a greenhouse. Personally, I'm going to put windows in like that. That, and also going to do the same here. Let's go 2 up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Budged that up. There we go. And then I'll also do the other side as well. Again, I'm aiming to get as much natural light in here as possible, because we're using shroud wood here, and that can be quite dark at the best of times. And we'll focus a little bit more on the outside for a moment as well. You in there, you in there, you in there. Okay. Now this creates a dilemma. Now, obviously, this is going to be 3 wide. It won't be symmetrical if I do that. So, I'm actually going to argue for... I have the smaller version of that. Not on me, I don't. Did I pack them in my magic cases? Not there, I didn't. 2 out in there. There. Or there. As per usual, you can see that I am completely organised. That's it. Come on, let's run down here. Let's go and get the correct windows. I know that I've got them. I was hoping to have them on me. There we go. Ideally, I'd like to use the same windows all the way around. But I know that if I put a 3 wide window in that gap, it's going to kill me. It really will. I'll be looking at it and thinking. So, I'm going to use these ones. There we go. That does. See, that is that is going to bug me. That is really going to bug me. I can't do it. I can't. I'm just going to have to go with... Okay. You're just going to have to suck it up, Tal. That's all you're going to have to do. There you go. Right, I'm going to have the single window there. Of course, technically I could use the other walls. I could just block that off completely, have a couple of windows along there and a couple of windows along there, but I've not done that. Right. Now, this outside, I feel like I need a little bit more room to maneuver here, you know. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to create a bit of a patio for this outside section. And let's make sure we've got the right blocks, not shroud wood, not roughly cut stone. Nope, none of you. Let's have a look. And I don't have those blocks on me either. Good grief, where's my city wall blocks? City wall and We'll take all 3 of those. I don't think I'm going to need all 3 of those, but I do like using the city wall blocks for this kind of pavement outside for this courtyard area. There we go, city wall blocks. I'm going to place you there. There. Now obviously they've used the rough cut stone inside there, and I'm not going to change that, to be honest with you. I'm fine with that. But on the outside here, definitely want it to be. Now I'm going to remove that tree. Sometimes for authenticity I will perhaps leave things like that in. Yeah, you see I messed that bit up there just slightly. Let's get rid of you. And the rock. And that fence. And that fence. Hey. Don't want any blocks floating. We could technically clear that as well. View. There we go. Right. I am happy with that. And I also have the surroundings. I do have them on me, don't I? Yes, I do. Right. Let's have you there. 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 Okay. Now, obviously, I'm going to be doing more work on the outside anyway, but for the moment, we are focusing on this greenhouse or seed barn. There we go. So that's enough for the moment. Also, with this being your seedling area, we're going to want, well, you're going to want plenty of water for these. And also, what I'll do is... Now, normally I do the decoration last, but I'm pretty certain I'm going to want this in anyway. Let's have a little wheelbarrow. Maybe over there. Close at hand. Right. Now, I want a bit more out here. I want the columns, but not that. Shroud wood. I want it a little bit more. Just out a bit, maybe. Yeah. There. 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 At the same side? Yes. Okay. Right. I am going to... I want a little area for my bees as well. That's what I'd like to do, so I think it's probably the best we're going to get away with for lattice work. It's just a small area for them, actually. Don't want them inside. Right. Do maybe just a touch. One more row, I think, at the top there. Okay. And then let's have our bees. They've got little holes to signify it. There we go. I think I can see that. That looks like one of the little holes to me. There we go. Let's put, yeah, place those there. Roofing. Some foliage be nice, maybe. Don't know. Or should we go for some? I don't know. Not so much flower soil. Moss. Moss would be a lot softer, I think. Let's go for that. I don't want to put it too far in. I don't want to mess with the other roof, per se. I think that, yeah, that's fine. Okay, as is. There we go. Just got a nice little area for the bees there. Yep. Okay, I'm happy with that for the moment. Not finished there, but I'm happy with that for the moment. And do we have... Ooh. Crocodiles. It'd be nice to have something out the front here, I think. I don't just want it plain. Again, should really be leaving the decorations much till last. But I'm quite certain that I want these here. At least for the moment. Right, okay, so gonna want some light for in here. Let's face it, you know, the one thing I'm always complaining about is the lack of light, and certainly for my eyes. So, okay, that's my seedlings. I do have those for a specific reason. Let's put some torches in. Place any more torches in there? No, I do have some more beehives. Don't need those for the moment. Do have a look at that. And do I have any more torches? One more. Good. So I have the 6. Okay. First things first. Let's place you there and there. Some at the back as well. There. There. And again, obviously, realistically, you know, having the torches this close to a wooden roof would not be good. But thankfully, this is a game where they are not going to make us pay for those consequences. So I'm okay with that. I may actually need to go up there and clip that in. Are you going to go in there or what? Not willingly, are you? You're going to be awkward. Okay. Actually, that's what I want. See if we can do it like that. Can I actually get up there? That is the question. No, I can't. Needs to be a little bit lower. And there. Okay. There we go. Let's place you like that. Down. Hop down. Now let's get rid of that. And of course get rid of that. Get rid of those. Okay, so we have our windows up there. Right, so let's start getting our basic placements. We have everything around there. Whoa. We do have you sticking through there. I can still see a bit of green there. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay, I can still see a bit there, but I think... Okay, there we go. Remove that, remove that. I can still see a little bit sticking through there. I'm not going to be that fussy about it. Obviously, you know, if you are a little bit more particular about it, you may want to remove that. Right, and let's get our placement of things. So first thing is, obviously, you know, we want the seed trays in there, the seed beds. So let's get those placed first of all. And I want plenty of them, because we have, for Harvest Homestead, you have quite a few fields to use. So we are going to place these all the way around. I'm going to leave that corner relatively free because I want to use that for something else. Let's place it closer though. There. I'll place you slightly closer in there. We can always use those gaps for decorating. So I'm going to move you again there. I am leaving certain spaces there because I want to place things in them. I don't just want this to be a average ordinary greenhouse. To give it some features, you know what, I might leave that space as well. Go down here. Do I have any more in here? It'd be nice if I had another 2. Just to finish that. Yeah, my memory is so good I can't remember which boxes I put them. There we go, there's 2. I'm sure I had some more. So, let's place them down. You there. And I'm actually going to place... take snapping off. Place you in there. I don't like you. You're clipping over. I'm going to pick you up as well. I'm going to place you perhaps. I'll leave you there. Now what I would do probably is place any boxes that I have just there. I mean, you could have them into each other like that, which in fact is what I might do. Now that shouldn't affect it. I can still go into this one, and I can still go into this one as well. I'll perhaps move that along just a little bit. But I do, as I say, want to use that corner. That's okay. Right, so once you've got your spacing sorted out there, the next thing I would like to do is, as I said, I want to make this something a little bit different. So, I very much like these carved wooden, I think it's the side tables. Yeah, carved wooden nightstands. I really like these. I like the carvings along the edge. I like the detail on the edge of them. I'm grabbing quite a few of those because I'm going to bring those in. Okay. So make sure I've got enough space to wander around. So we'll go there. Now what I'm doing is I'm just going to connect all these together. Like I said, I really do like the look of the carvings on the edge of them. Just move you and you off so we can get more of you on. But like I said, I also want enough space to be able to move around. We need to play around with this a bit. Obviously, again, I'm not going to play around with it too much. I would have shifted it just a little bit further over. It's a good job I have a lot of these nightstands, but then again, I bought them specifically for this. This is something I've seen a few other players do, to be honest. And I like the way this turns out. And it adds something just a little bit different. I mean, you could actually use this idea inside your base if you could find enough room. Just gives it a little bit of decoration. Do we have one more? Yes, we do. That's all it takes. Go first person so I can get this. There, and again, let's go first person. I want you lined up with that edge there. Pull you forward just a little bit. There. Right. Okay, so that's wonderful, Tal. But what are you actually going to do with it? Well, okay, so we have the soil on me. I'm going to do this. Now, let's make sure that we have our farm soil. Now, I'm going to have to trim this just a little bit. Okay, right. No, not what I meant to do. Yep, trim the sides down here. Now, you've probably guessed already what I'm doing here. I'm doing a living flower bed in the centre. Now, to be honest with you, I'm just going to use a few plants. I'm doing this for decoration, not for cultivation. So these are not plants that I'm going to harvest. That's why we have a huge amount of fields outside in Harvest Homestead. It's one of the reasons why I picked this place. I mean, to be honest with you, if you want a close one, you could always pick Peaceful Acres. Peaceful Acres is another beautiful piece of land with, you know, it's got farmland outside. I don't think it's got as much as Harvest Homestead, but, you know, it has more than enough to play with. Okay, let's take all of you in. So, now here we go. This is the clever bit. Which is why it's not going to work for me. But this is the clever bit where you really want to be able to put in, you know, you want a nice centerpiece. I want like the purple from the indigo. Is that the indigo I've picked, or is that the wolfsbane? I believe that's the indigo. Yes, it is. I would no. First person. Now, if I place that in the center and see how we go with that. Now I would like saffron. It's a very pretty colour. See how much of that we can place. One maybe in each corner. Question is, when you see that, will it stay? That's the question. At the moment, yes, because there's plenty of room. But obviously, sometimes when you place things in like that, they don't necessarily stay. Got the indigo in the center. We have that lovely. We're gonna have that lovely splash of red just on the outside. As you can tell, my color coordination may not be to your liking. I do quite like the mushrooms. I'm gonna have see if I can. Oh, that's the actual mushrooms, not the. Well, there we go. I was going to place some mushroom seedlings in there, and I picked up actual mushrooms there. Now let's get those instead. Of course, we're down to whether there is enough space, because as you can see, there's not a lot of space here, and you have to go... So we might be able to have one there. It's a shame we can't have them any closer. Again, you're going to want to go with the colours that you like, the colours that you want. As I said, I'm not going to be harvesting these. You know, this is not harvestable stuff as far as I'm concerned. This is just for a splash of colour. Actually, inside, I may have moved that too close. No, not enough space. Yeah. This is why it can be tricky doing these. You'd be better, you know. You could spend quite some time, I think, planning this out. Now, you can see the idea of it. You can see what I'm trying to achieve with this. However, it's going to be a shame that this is not going to work out the way I would like it to, which is always the case. I've only done this a couple of times. That's my excuse. But you can see what I'm attempting to do here, or what I'm trying to do here. You would have a nice little living garden area inside. And like I said, you could do this in your house, you know, you could do this inside your seed shed, which is what we've done here. Now, I'm going to leave that alone for a moment because, like I say, you spend ages fiddling with this, and I honestly could. I would. If this was my build, I would spend some time absolutely fiddling around with this until I got it right, until I had the size right, until I had the plants in there that I want. Unfortunately, for this video, I'm not going to bore you with me fiddling around with it for ages and ages. But I would say take your time over it, work out what you want from it, work out what colours you want where, you know, and that will really, really do it some justice. And that could really add a really nice splash of colour to your greenhouse. Right, now we have that as our centerpiece, so when you walk in, you can already see this. You can imagine it full of colour. I'm sure that will sprout as we're going. You have your seed beds around the edge. Obviously, one thing we could do with here is you're probably going to want to put some boxes in there. They don't have to be magic boxes, but we are going to take this, for example, and bring it over. I'd perhaps find some little spaces like this. That is clipping slightly, as it would do. I would perhaps find a lovely space like this, maybe. And you could place it on the corner there so that you can get into it, he says. Or even more, so I would perhaps put some blocks underneath that so it's raised slightly, because obviously with it being down there, I can't quite reach it there. So what I would highly recommend you do is perhaps, yeah, we can use Enshrouded for that. Will make no difference. Nobody's going to see that bit anyway. There we go, that raises the box up slightly. And so you should be able to get to that quite easily. Yes, so you can keep all of your items in there. I would perhaps suggest using normal storage boxes. You don't need magic storage boxes for this. I'm just using that because it was the most convenient one there. Right. I'm going to take out our little gnomes. The other two just there. And I'm also going to take... Did I just see our statues there? I like these new statues. I think they came with the Lunar New Year's update. They're quite nice. I would almost perhaps have those outside here instead of the Black Mire ones. Obviously, it's up to you what you place. You know, you could perhaps have them on the inside. I won't add them because that'll be too much now. But I would say I would perhaps have those instead of the Black Mire statues that I've placed outside. Again, you know, it's entirely up to you what statues you use. Let's have a couple of boxes around here. Now, one thing I am going to do. Now, we definitely want some fertilizer tanks in here. Hold on. What are fertilizer tanks we're using here? I like to use them as fertilizer tanks. And I'm going to grab none of the above. I am going to grab... Let's give them a try. That one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay. And we'll have to see whether they're sticking out the back. But I'm going to first of all try that one. And where did the other one go? At the other end. And it may actually come down to that. Now they are quite probably going to be sticking out back there. That, can we have them coming out of the wall just there? There, obviously we have the other one over there. Again, I would probably be more inclined normally to make that more symmetrical. So I would perhaps have one over in that corner as well as over here. Okay. And oh, wrong button. There we go. Right. So we can place a little bit of decoration now. We've got our seed beds in. We have everything that we want in. We can always place a few more boxes and items outside. Again, a bit of light for me. Let's have it slightly like that. I don't want to place the boxes too perfectly. If you stack them too perfectly, it just looks like someone has... Well, when do you ever see perfect stacking? It just doesn't look very realistic when you do perfect stacking, I don't think. Sometimes things just look a little bit too perfect, as someone once told me. So you can place these little bits and pieces around. Again, you know, it'll add just a little bit more sort of, you know, life to your build. Make it look like it's used. Again, let's place that on a bit more of a slant. There. Turn you around. So it's just adding little bits and pieces like this, you know, leaving them around in your greenhouse will make it, you know, definitely makes it look like it's more used, more, you know, as I would call it, it looks more lived in. Why am I moving you from there to there? Okay, let's place you out here to light the way. You can go over here. Okay, you'll garden the bees. And then you are just on the inside of the door here. There we go. Let's have our little gnomes around. No, I'm going to take you away from there. And up here, let's place you up on the boxes here, I think. There. You're kind of up and out of the way. No, again, I'm not liking that. Well, it's the gnome I wasn't liking, not the actual... You're fine, you can stay. Gnome, I want you actually down there. There we go. Okay, again, out the way, but again, if you like, it might actually be worth putting some shelves up on the wall as well, if you wanted to put a bit more decoration in there. Now, I'm going to put the grinder in there as well. Again, I do like these nightstands. I have a habit of using those. Maybe a few more potted plants. Take the jack-o'-lanterns in. There we go. It's just for the last sort of, you know, final touches that we want this. Okay, So let's just have a few touches around here. Let's place you on there so that we can still access it. Get in there. There we go. That indigo really is beginning to take up the space there, isn't it? Okay, I can see that you're not really gonna sit on there properly, are you? Because that indigo is taking up an awful lot of space there. I don't want you on the same side as that though. Can we fit you? Okay. What about if we angle you? Would you sit on there if I do that? Would you sit on there if I say please? Damn it. What? Damn you. You're going on the floor then. You are going on the floor. Don't care anymore. Right. Okay. Let's place you just in there. Can clip that in this side. Won't look too bad. Right, if we wanted this anywhere, I would say we can perhaps put that back. I don't want to see the shelving, so I'm quite happy to have the flat side here. Let's place you there. And then be half tempted to have that there. We could maybe have that up there, and that kind of covers that a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to want to access this as well, because obviously you're going to want to put things like your bones in there for your bone meal and stuff like that. Pop that there, because if it is closer to the box, you'll be able to shift things from there straight over into the box. I'll just catch that there. How badly would that affect it, or would it? Clipping a little bit, however. Right, and I think again we can have a shelf over this side. There. As for this, we're going to place this emblem up here. There we go. So you can see from looking in here, you can already see there's a few things catching the eye. In this greenhouse or seed barn is beginning to get, you know, slightly more decorated and definitely have a bit more life to it. Now, in actual fact, I'd be more tempted to use the plough out in the fields rather than up here by the seed shed. Don't need those anymore. Right. Bucket. Over by the well. Issue there. Barrels, definitely more a case of over here, I think. Issue there. Might place you here, I think. So we have a little bit more going on around here, so you can see this area is used. Very much so. Can have a few potted plants in here, I think, scattered around. And there. Perhaps one there as well. And now that's nice because the jack-o'-lanterns can be sometimes quite big. It's nice to find one of the smaller ones, and I'm actually going to place you up here with the gnome. Bit of extra light, push you back a bit. There we go. Right, there we go. And obviously if we wanted a bit more, can we place them on there? We can do. I think it might be a bit too much, but obviously you could always place them at the corners or even place one of them around here, so you're using this space up just a little bit. Place them next to there. There we go. Again, you know, you probably don't want to over decorate too much, which is kind of what I'm doing here. You know, you can leave it as it is. You can place as much or as little as you want to, but I do think we've got quite enough going on in here as it is now. Now obviously it's up to you how you wish to arrange things. Place a bucket just there. Someone coming in. So as you can see, this has gone from being like, you know, just an ordinary seed barn, just a wooden building. You can already see there's quite a bit going on here. Now if you really wanted to, you could put a couple of heads either side of that window. You could have perhaps some flower boxes, which I believe I have got. You know, I can't help myself. You know, I'm forever tweaking stuff and touching stuff. Probably should go careful with that touching stuff. That always gets me into trouble. Do I have the flower boxes on me? I do not. I am going to get them. So I can't help feeling they would be nice to just touch it up there. Not in that one. Yeah, I know, it's that usual half hour where I sort through the boxes. I've got them here somewhere, honestly. There we go. Take the pink wallflower ones. Do we have some little side pots? Red flower pots. Red wallflower pots. There we go. Again, you know, you need to choose your colours. Choose what you like. I'm grabbing these again for quickness. So yeah, well, if you want to be quick, why are you doing all this in the first place? Okay, so let's have you there. You there. Again, to add just a little splash of colour. So you're on the other row. And obviously you could place those on the inside as well if you wanted some. So again, you can see those there. Again, if you wanted to. I was going to place them up there. I want something either side of the window. I personally might place a couple of heads or something like that for decoration. I'm not going to do it now. You could do that. You can choose the heads that you want. A matron mother head would fit there. The fell... No, what is it? It's a fell something or other, but the fell head would go either side of there. Something like the wisp withen or something like that is going to be too big. You know, or the sickle scythe, their head would fit either side. Or you could do away with the window entirely and just have a single head up there. But either way, that I am quite happy with the way that our greenhouse has turned out here. Obviously, as I said, you can decorate it as much or as little as you wish. But that is the greenhouse. And that, as they say, is that. Now, I hope you've got a few ideas from this. You know, I hope this will give you some food for thought so that you can make your, you know, greenhouses and seed barns more creative and help them and make them come alive. And so, like I said, if you have got any ideas from this, you know, let me know down in the comments if you would change anything, if you would do anything differently. Other than that, you know, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.